Hello, and thank you for joining us. We're going to be doing an exercise called a locating finger, and this series of drafting demonstrations comes from a page of assignments. There were 8 assignments, and of all of them, this one's the most challenging, or difficult, or fun if you're me and you like to be challenged with drafting. Because drafting is, at the end of the day, kind of a puzzle. And if you take that approach, I think it's a lot more fun than if you take it as like, oh God, I have to do this because reasons. Right. Setup matters because that's what we're going to build on, like a foundation of a house. And so we're going to want to square the paper up with the T-square, unless, of course, you got a drafting machine, then good one on you. And I'm using these paper cutouts to sort of show the planning process. You don't need to use them, but you're probably going to need some scratch paper unless you can put these numbers into your head and keep them all straight. And I'm going to show both decimal, which is the assignment shows, and then fractional inches. So, horizontal element, we've got 9.75 inches to work with. We're going to subtract 5 and 2.2 quarter of an inches, which is the length of the two views. And then with the vertical, we get 6.5 inches to work with. And this thing is initially square and cross section, so 2.25 inches plus 2.25 inches, and we get 2 inches left over. Right. Well, as usual, especially with this A-size paper, the squeeze, if you will, is the front view and top view. But I thought maybe it would be the reverse this time. Anyway, if we allow for 0.375 or 3/8 of an inch above and below the views, then that's going to give us 1.25 or an inch and a quarter in between the views. And then once we've established that, the space to the sides of each view to the border are going to be 0.625 or 3/8. Because we've got 2 inches of slop to work with, we subtract 1.25 or an inch and a quarter, and we get 0.625 or 5/8 after we divide by 2. Now I'm going to use a very light touch with a pencil. An even easier way is to splurge and buy like a number 4 pencil, which are very hard, right? H hard. And we're going to draw 3 sort of like boxes, and the views will be inside of them. All right. And double check everything before you proceed. It's so easy to make a mistake with the math, and I do it myself. I could show you, but I won't because it's just too embarrassing. But there was one time I had 2 false starts before the third time I finally got it right because I had made some mistakes. So very important, double check everything and then carry on to the next step. Time now to draw the object. And as I said, this is, I think, the most challenging of this set of assignments. And it's particularly challenging not only because we have angles and we're doing hidden lines, but also, and this is what's really driving it, we cannot draw the end view or side view until we get the information we need from both the front and the top view. So I'm starting with the front view, drawing a series of construction lines, right? It's relatively straightforward, getting the information from the assignment. And now I'm going to darken them in. I'm going to make my object lines nice and bold. And get this end of it, the vertical line, the next vertical line. Right. Except a 30-degree angle. Okay, and then that's job done. Okay, that's relatively straightforward. Right, top view, a little more involved, but not much. And we're going to project up that notch so we know where to locate it, and the inflection point for the angle. And then this particular line isn't a set angle. It's a connect the dots type situation where you've got a start and end point. And now we're drawing a hidden line. Hidden lines, they should be about 1/8 of an inch long, the dashes. A 3/2 of an inch in between. I usually go a little larger than that. Maybe as much as a 1/16 of an inch. Right? Top view, not too hard. Right? Now we're going to project over to the end view. where the angle ends. Okay. And that little point, it's almost like a knife edge along the end there. I'm going to come all the way down. I'm going to do some erasing later. So if you notice the mistake I just made, don't worry about it. I will fix it. And it's a puzzle, so I'm kind of looking at piece by piece. But here I'm getting some information. Where does the inflection point start in this view? You've got to get that information from the top view and get that length and then make a mark, because that's where that angle is going to be. And it's going to be what we might think of as an irregular angle. It starts as a solid block of wood at the back. I'm neglecting the notch at the moment, but I will sort that out. Giving myself a bit of a think. Okay, so this line here starts at the top, right, that distance over, and then ends right on the right-hand side of the end view, about ½ inch up. And it is a ½ inch up, I should say. And then I'm, again, getting how long is that hidden line? Well, that's where the notch is. So I'm now going to draw in the part of the notch you can see that's been cut away. That gets an object line. And then we transition, once again, to a hidden line, representing what is there, but we cannot see. And I've got this issue. So I made a couple X's, remind myself to get rid of it. It represents that notch. And I'm not going to just try and erase it. I'm going to grab an erasing shield and a really good eraser, and I'm going to use that to protect the drawing. So by moving the eraser shield to where I need it, and then I can erase with utter abandon or from well away from lines that matter. And then I'm going to really try and clean this thing up. I'm looking to get that A+ drawing on this thing if I can earn it. Remember, grades are earned, not given. So I'm cleaning up any little mistakes I made. And then don't do that. Yes, the brush. Using your hand to wipe out eraser dust, you risk smearing your drawing. So please, please, please. Also going to clean that up. Now I got to repair that line a bit. That's okay. Line up tidy and get that nice bold line, right? But always use an eraser brush to clear off dust. Time now to dimension. And we're going to be doing some things that are a little bit different from some of our more recent efforts. We're still tight on space. So in an ideal world, you go ½ inch for the first dimension, that's dimension line away from the object, and then 3/8 and 3/8 and so on. But we're still pretty tight on space. So I'm drawing some construction lines where the dimension lines will go, so I'll know where to put the actual dimensions themselves. That is the numbers. And the rule is, when you're going vertically, as I am here, you can write the dimensions horizontally, as I am, or you can write the dimensions vertically. A lot of it has to do with style and space, as it were. And here I am using a circle template to create an arc. And then this is a dimension that's outside the objects. It's not ideal, but in this case, it's necessary. In an ideal world, all of your dimensions are between the views, so as the eye looks from side or end to front to top, it's constantly moving over the dimensions and kind of locks it into the brain, as it were. But that lower corner, we don't dimension to hidden lines ever, so I was kind of stuck. Now I'm drawing the actual dimension lines in. You can see the smaller dimensions are closer to the object. That's an extension line, which I'm going to bring all the way over, because we're using it not just for the angle, but for those dimensions. Another good rule is, ideally, the dimension is in the view that makes most clear what's going on with that dimension. So the front view, that object line is saying this is a real steep angle, well, 30 degrees, versus there's an object line, but what is it for? Right, well, I'm really hoping to earn 100 this time, so let's see how we did. There's a couple of line issues and arrows that aren't really up to scratch, so sorry, that's only B for me. Everything is there. We didn't miss anything. That's good to go, and everything lines up nice and tidy, so there's that. Oh, come on, do the math. one more reason that we don't oblige the person on the shop floor to do our math for us. And I'll go ahead and sign my work, and we're done with this particular object, which, as I said, is the most challenging in the series of 8. Take care.